This year, the Tokyo Motor Show saw the launch of Kawasaki's much anticipated 200 horsepower supercharged naked, the ZX-2, but it's actually a much smaller capacity bike that appears to have stolen the show, as Kawasaki also unveiled their 250cc Inline-4, the ZX-25R. Despite being only a quarter of the capacity of the ZX-2, the hype around this bike, from what I've seen on social media, equals it, if not exceeds it. So in today's video, we're going to take a look at why. The headline spec for the ZX-25R is its 250cc Inline-4 engine, which in and of itself will be a huge pull for many small capacity bike fans. Inline-4s aren't really a thing anymore in the smaller displacement market, with the majority of bikes using a single cylinder or parallel twin and built to a budget for new or younger riders. But a 250 Inline-4 might actually appeal to older bikers who recall the sports bikes of the 1990s, which used the same engine configuration such as the Kawasaki ZX-R250, the Honda CBR250RR, the Suzuki GSX-R250, or Yamaha's FZR250. Bike racing was super popular in Japan at the time, but getting a license for a bigger capacity bike was difficult, hence the development and popularity of these 250cc sports bikes. But the format was also popular elsewhere in the world, which is why the ZX-25R appears to have been greeted with a warm welcome across the internet. It's rumoured to be capable of approximately 60 horsepower, which is quite something for a bike of this displacement, so it's safe to assume that it'll be extremely high revving, just like the 250s of the 1990s. The Kawasaki ZX-R250 redlined at a screaming 19,000 RPM, for example. And therein lies some of the appeal of the 250 Inline-4. The high revving motor gives it such a distinctive exhaust note, especially when it's really having its neck wrung. I've seen some disappointment that the ZX-25R wasn't started up at the Tokyo show or captured on video, and I'd have to agree, I can't wait to hear this motor. But it's not just the engine that has the premium spec when compared to the rest of the small displacement market. The upside-down forks are from Showa and use their separate function big piston designs. Separate fork function means that one fork leg has a damper and one a spring, rather than a spring and damper in each leg, which should make for lighter forks with better damping. The big piston design should also provide better damping response. Both of these features are typically reserved for the forks of larger capacity sports bikes, so Kawasaki appear to have gone all out for the ZX-25R in their quest to create something special. Suspension at the rear is handled by a horizontal backlink monoshock setup, and we can hope that both the forks and shocks will be fully adjustable, although this isn't confirmed. Braking also looks relatively premium for such a small bike, with a radially mounted own brand caliper at the front. Although it's only a single disc, this bike will be pretty lightweight and therefore not require twin discs. Radially mounted calipers are again normally reserved for larger bikes, with a more rigid mounting style that generally leads to a crisper feel at the lever. A monoblock caliper should also flex less, again improving feel. And at the rear, a single piston Nissin caliper should be more than sufficient. A quick shifter is also present on the ZX-25R, again a much more sporting feature which allows the rider to change gear quickly without employing the clutch. Kawasaki's KQS or Kawasaki Quick Shifter is usually available on the upshift, with a downshift blipper on some premium models. I'd assume that this ZX-25R will only have the upshift, but you never know, it really depends where they price it. The ZX-25R also has some big bike electronics. Throttle modes are present with a choice between full and low power, and these can be combined with traction control that typically has 3 modes on Kawasaki's bikes, as well as the option to fully disable it. So multiplied with the 2 throttle settings, the ZX-25R ought to have 8 combinations to allow the rider to dial in their exact taste. ABS is also present as required on all new bikes, but there's no indication that it will be switchable. Aesthetically, the ZX-25R has the looks of a much bigger bike than it actually is. It at least has the presence of the Ninja 400, as well as some of the styling cues like the twin horizontal headlights. But in many ways it looks more premium than that model. The upside down forks, radial front brake, underslung exhaust and cast aluminium swing arm all combine to give it more in common with the ZX-6R than the Ninja 400 or 650. It looks lean, angular and mean, and it will definitely appeal to anyone who likes the Kawasaki aesthetic, especially in the green colorway shown here. From all the indications I've seen already, it appears as though this bike has been developed with Indonesia specifically in mind. It was spotted testing near Kawasaki's factory there multiple times this year, and there are no videos about this bike on the main Kawasaki YouTube channel, yet the Kawasaki Indonesia channel has 2 already. It was also absent from the Kawasaki press release and media site in the UK, which did publicise bikes from the Tokyo show like the ZH2 and updated W800. Indonesia makes sense though, they have huge taxes on higher displacement bikes, so this could be a way to offer a premium Kawasaki sports bike to Indonesian riders without costing them a fortune in running costs. But as for whether it will make it to the UK or US, Kawasaki have said it's a worldwide model, but they're yet to single out individual countries. There certainly seems to be some demand for it if the comments on my videos are anything to go by, but only time will tell. If it does make it to the UK, expect it to be priced above the £5,500 of the Ninja 400, owing to the fact that the spec is of a much higher caliber, but it'll almost certainly be less than the £9,500 of the ZX-6R, so my guess is somewhere in the middle. What do you guys think of this ZX-25R? I always enjoy reading your take in the comments. It looks awesome to me, especially as I'm too young to have experienced the 250cc inline-4s of the 90s, and it's always cool to see something new and a bit out there. Much like Triumph building the 2.5 litre cruiser in the Rocket 3, a 60 horsepower 250cc bike is something that Kawasaki didn't need to build, but they've gone and done it anyway. Let me know what you think down below. Would you pay more for one of these than the parallel twin of the Ninja 400? And if you're new here and you want to see more videos like this, hit subscribe and I'll see you next time.